want to point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I want to hope gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 495th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and Tom Fennell.
Is this the 495th? I got 494.
I'm sorry, you're right. I just started doing the 495th, and it was the number that was on my mind. Yeah, it's the 494th.
And today is 10/20/2022.
That's correct. That's what it is.
Because all of this stuff is just recently happening, and it happened last week. We're starting with Thursday, October 13th.
Right. And this week we have some exciting things.
Well, we start off with a nice picture of the Whiteley Wind Farm, which I assume is in Scotland because that's what the article says.
I certainly believe that it is. Okay, if you don't mind, Tom, I think before we start with this, I should say these stories all come from the blog geoharvey.com. And if you scroll down on the screen that you're looking at, you can see a couple of files that you can either open or open online to find the original articles. So
some of these articles are well worth looking up and reading at the time. Some of them are long.
Some of them are amazing this week.
This one comes from a source called STV News, which I am assuming means Scottish TV.
I would guess. Yeah, I would guess that's right. What do you got for a title?
Scottish renewable energy output hits record levels among soaring bills.
Yeah, Scotland produced a record amount of renewable energy from the start of summer this year, a report says. Higher wind speeds, increased rainfall, additional capacity coming online helped to boost the country's output to 7,358 gigawatt hours in April, May, and June, up 36% from 2021.
Well, as I've already said, gigawatts is bigawatts.
Yeah.
So carry that on and say gigawatt hours is bigawatt hours.
I suppose that's true. This is nature or destiny or something also slapping down the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Well, Scotland's doing a lot with renewables. They're getting on board here.
Yes, they are. That's right. Okay, move on.
Might as well move on. Can't dance. We've got a very disturbing picture coming up, though.
We do, and let me put that picture up. Whoops. The picture is a picture of Lake Mead, and this is from CNN.
Biden administration outlines a plan to pay for the Colorado River water cuts as the crisis looms.
Yeah, as concerns grow over the future of the drought-plagued Colorado River system, the Biden administration has announced how it intends to pay farmers, cities, and Native American tribes in the Southwest for significant voluntary water cuts.
Well, they've got a big problem out there because there's not enough water to do what's already basically been spoken for.
That's right. And this is something that we've talked about a number of times. One of the things that really amazed me was, what was the crop, Tom? It was a legume in California, grown as fodder for cattle.
Oh, yeah, right. It was cattle feed.
Yeah, and if the irrigation for that one crop were not included in the total use of water, it would make up for almost all the excess use of water. So that it would simplify things enormously if they were not growing alfalfa. It was alfalfa. So
among other things, but yes, absolutely right.
Yeah. So do you have more on that, or should we move on to the next?
Well, did we read
Go ahead. What do you got?
Biden administration outlines plan to pay for Colorado River water cuts as a crisis looms.
I think we've been through that one, Tom.
We've been through that one, so let's move on to the next one. A picture of an automobile.
We have a picture of an Audi EV. And
this is from Clean Technica.
This is from Clean Technica. I didn't write it, but it is from Clean Technica.
We get a lot of good stuff from them.
Yeah.
And the Inflation Reduction Act spurs changes in U.S. electric vehicle production.
Yes, the Inflation Reduction Act is barely 2 months old, and already there are news reports galore of... Did you know that's an Irish word, apparently?
What is?
Galore. Of battery plants being built in America, new lithium mining agreements, and EV plants being built. And we've talked about this in the last few weeks. Every time we turn around, there's a new EV plant being built or a new battery plant. Major corporations are adjusting their plans to take advantage of the new economic reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this thing about Audi, they were talking about the reason why it's an Audi is they're talking about building plants in the United States.
Well, behind the scenes, Biden seems to be doing a lot to offset some of the problems we're running into with energy shortages and stuff.
Yes, yes.
I mean, he's come up with a lot of money, actually.
He has indeed. And that's in an Inflation Reduction Act, which means that...
He's not getting enough credit, I think, for what he's doing.
Well, I think you may be right. The Inflation Reduction Act is intended to reduce inflation, but man, it spreads money around like mad. So I'm kind of wondering where that's all going to go.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. So we're up to...
One thing for sure is we will be using more renewables.
I think that's...
for sure is we're still going to be burning fossil fuels.
Yep.
Which is not a good idea.
Yeah, we're up to Friday, October 14th, and we have an item here from CNN.
Nice picture of a fawn.
A fawn.
They're pretty animal, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Well, the article's kind of disturbing.
Yes, it is.
Global wildlife population have declined by 69% since 1970, according to the World Wildlife
Yeah, the world's...
Whatever the S is for the WWF.
World Wildlife Fund. The world's wildlife populations have plummeted by an average of 69% between 1970 and 2018.
That's not cool.
No. A dangerous decline resulting from climate change and other human activity. The World Wildlife Fund for Nature warned in a report that they released on Thursday. So this is, and you know, one thing that I should mention to people. I have done interviews of people who run programs for environmental programs of various kinds, and some of them actually have a policy that they teach certain things to people, one of which is they teach people about the need to hunt. And the animals that need to be hunted are the ones that are kind of in populations that are growing out of control. Happen to be animals that are in populations that are growing out of control. So it is a view of some people that hunting certain species is a good thing. I just want to mention that so people are aware of it.
Disturbing.
It's a disturbing...
If you read the article, be prepared to be just disappointed.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Let's move along here. We got a picture of liquefied natural gas in a natural gas ship in Poland.
Is right, and this is from CNN.
It is that. Europe has enough energy to survive the winter. Next year might be different.
Yeah, Russia's attempt to use its vast energy resources as a weapon against Europe is not going according to plan. Moscow has greatly reduced gas supplies in retaliation for sanctions by Western standards, but the region has been able to mass enough fuel for the upcoming winter. And
but they're worried about the future.
They are worried. Of course, every time you turn around, there's more renewable energy brought online. And
we really don't know what this guy Putin's doing over there. I don't think Putin knows what he's doing.
Putin is a bully.
Well, we know that.
Yeah, and if you think about this, Tom, Putin was in the KGB. He never had any military experience. He did learn judo from the age of 6. And I'll get back to that in a second. His vice president is a man named Dmitry Medvedev, who, as I recall, has always been a lawyer. No particular military expertise. His defense minister is a man named Sergei Shoigu, who is a civil engineer with no particular military expertise, although he does wear a military uniform all the time, and he's got very, very high rank on it. Putin is a man who learned, I think, to motivate people to do what he wants them to do by being a bully. And
I wouldn't dispute that at all.
He's surrounded by yes men. And as a student of yoga, a student of judo, one of the first things he should have learned is don't attack people. But that's what he did. And I think that the Russians are fighting a fight against, they bomb Ukrainian civilians. The Ukrainians are fighting a fight in which they bomb Russian tanks and other military equipment. This is a set of strategies that can only see Russia losing. And we have been seeing that through the course of the war. Although now the Russians are in an effort to wipe out the Ukrainian energy infrastructure immediately before winter, so the people in Ukraine will be cold all winter. But again, this is not a war on the Ukrainian military. This is a war on Ukrainian civilian population. I think it's
just going to say on the Ukrainian people.
Yeah, it's a terrorist war. Putin is trying to win through terrorism, and he makes threats, and whether the threats are going to be made good or not is an open question. But he's not being a nice man. Let me put it that way. Is that fair, Tom?
Even at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Even at that, we got a nice picture here of the Gold Coast.
We do.
Australian Gold Coast.
What's that?
It's an Australian Gold Coast.
It's the Australian Gold Coast, and Gold Coast is actually the name of the city.
Is it?
It is indeed.
It is, City of Gold Coast. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. And this particular one is from a publication called Your Investment Property Magazine.
And this is what it says, and I quote, "How big is renewable energy's impact on property values?"
This is interesting, and it's something that people have complained about, that renewable energy infrastructure, if it's built near your house, they say it drives the value of the house down. But here we have real life.
True.
Excuse me?
I don't think that's true.
No, it's not. Well, according to this, they've got real life data that shows that, in fact, it has the exact opposite effect. It increases the value of the property. Several renewable energy projects across Australia seem to have had significant impact on property values, a report says. Having one in a local government area seemed to have a strong beneficial effect on both property prices and the overall cost of living. So the value of your, if there's a wind farm nearby or a solar farm nearby, the value of your property increases and the cost of living decreases. And that is important.
A winning combination.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And this is something that confirms things that we've seen in studies done in the United States years ago, but it also shows that people who are saying that it has a destructive effect on property values happen not to be correct in the real world. And honestly, I've seen studies that show increased value of property in the neighborhood of wind farms and solar farms. I have seen nothing that shows, and by this I mean nothing that was done to scientific standards. And people who don't know what that means should review what it means. Nothing that shows that the property value declines as a result. So, I will admit.
That could be Miami Beach.
What's that?
I'm looking at the picture. Though it's in Australia, it could be Miami Beach.
It almost could be, couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go on? All right, so we're up to Saturday, October 15th. We have
a funny looking picture here.
Yeah, this is
nickel hydrogen battery.
Yeah, this is not something that holds coffee. I mean, that's what it looks like to me, but this is from Clean Technica.
It looks like it's shaped like a hydrogen tank.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
It comes to us from Clean Technica.
Yep.
Again, and I'll read the title.
Okay.
Value backs its nickel hydrogen batteries with a 20-year, 200,000 cycle warranty.
You know,
wow.
A 200,000 cycle warranty is impressive. Intervenue makes nickel hydrogen batteries that have proven themselves in orbit spacecraft, providing reliable electricity for over 200 million cell hours and over 100,000 charge and discharge cycles. Now, Intervalue wants to do that on Earth. What do you got there? What's that?
That's nothing to sneeze at. 200 million cell hours.
And this is something that doesn't depend on lithium. It doesn't depend on cobalt. It doesn't depend on other things that are rare. Nickel is mined in a variety of places, including the United States, and there are other batteries that are easier. I mean, iron air batteries are easy. It's iron, air, and water, and a little bit salt. And what do you do with that? You're not. The point that I'm making is we're not married to lithium for all time to provide us with batteries.
Well, I think I've said at the show, in 4 years of electrical engineering, I think we spent 47 minutes talking about batteries.
Yeah.
There has been more progress in batteries in the last 10 years than forever before that.
Yes, I think that's probably true. Did I tell you about my great-grandfather and the electrical system in his house in Nebraska?
I think you did, but you're going to tell us again because it's interesting.
Yeah, he was the first person in his town to have electricity. He was also the first person in his town to have telephone. And if you think about that, that's a little unusual. Who do you call when you're the first person in town with a telephone? Well,
people from town.
Yeah, his house had a phone. There was a phone outside his store, which was one of the most important stores in town. That was a public phone that anybody could use. And there was a third phone, which was at the doctor's office, and the doctor lived in the house at his office. So that was
the number of phones in town, huh?
Yeah, and it was something that he put together as a benefit to people, so that they could call the doctor in an emergency.
Interesting.
But he had the first electricity, and the electricity was dependent on batteries that were recharged by changing the chemicals. And he had a farm, and one of the farm hands was assigned the job of changing out the chemicals every week. And the battery was good for a week, and I don't know what it powers during that week. It might have powered one light bulb. I just don't know, but he had electricity.
Interesting.
The times have changed. Yeah, that was a battery where somebody had to come in with bottles full of water and drain the juice out of the battery and put fresh in order to maintain electricity. Things have changed a little, but compared to the change between then and the lead acid batteries that are used in cars, and the change from those lead acid batteries to what we've got today, what we have today is astonishing. There's so much of it.
Somebody else is coming up with a new approach.
Yeah. Okay, we will get back to that. We have another item here from Clean Technica. And we have
You read up with a very interesting picture of a BMW.
This picture is disturbing. I find it disturbing. It reminds me of a picture of a rare old truck that somebody found in a backyard in the woods. The hood was up, and there were tree trunks growing up between through the engine compartment. The engine was still in there, but there was enough room for a tree to grow up in it too. And it was just a junky old truck that had real value if you cut the tree down without crushing the truck. And this thing just looks like here it is, the product of the weeds. Anyway, this is from Clean Technica. What do you got for a title?
BMW, 100% electric vehicle sales are up 114.8%.
This is something we've seen over and over again. BMW took a while to put another full EV model on the market after its BMW i3, but it's rolling stronger and stronger now in the EV space. In the first 9 months of 2022, BMW Group sold 128,196 fully electric vehicles. That puts them up 114.8% compared to the first 9 months of 2021. And by the way, the overall market of cars is still down badly from 2019. And these new EVs that are coming onto the market are displacing gasoline and diesel-powered vehicles. So we're seeing...
Even costs are higher in the beginning to buy this thing.
Yeah.
Yep, because they're so much lower that people are starting to pay attention.
Yes, absolutely. So there it is. Now, should we go on, Tom?
Let's move right along here and take a look at San Diego Bay.
Yeah, which, by the way, is not Gold Coast. That is not a picture of Gold Coast. That is a picture of San Diego Bay.
That's what I said it was.
Yes, you did. But we were just looking at Gold Coast, and this looks...
Yes, we were. It's similar looking, but it looks like San Diego Bay is a little bit more developed.
I think it is, especially when you get more than 150 feet from the water. Okay, this came from the Times of San Diego.
Well, this is interesting. San Diego has ranked the greenest city in America, thanks to renewable energy.
Yeah, a study released this month ranked San Diego as the greenest city in America thanks to its copious amounts of renewable energy and healthful environment. San Diego was followed by Portland, and I believe that is Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine. Honolulu,
Right.
and in a study by Wallet Hub, which is an organization based in Washington, D.C. So,
As they say, very interesting.
so is there more to this story, or should we go on?
I think we should go on. Sunday, October 16th is coming up.
And we have
a solar array.
We do have a picture of a solar array. And this, I think, is one of the most interesting stories of the week. It's from Clean Technica. It's probably one of the most interesting stories of the year, truth be told.
It is that.
What do you got for a title?
Credit Suisse predicts renewable energy that is too cheap to meter by 2025.
2025 isn't that far away.
Not very far.
And
too cheap to meter.
When they're talking about too cheap to meter, they're not kidding. They are not kidding. This is Credit Suisse. Yeah. Okay, let me read the synopsis. Credit Suisse says the Inflation Reduction Act, and by the way, this too cheap to meter is in the United States. The Inflation Reduction Act will have such a tremendous impact on renewable energy that the United States will see the levelized cost of energy from renewable sources fall to less than 1 cent per kilowatt hour by 2025 after all tax and production credits are factored in. The LCOE factors in those credits, so in order to do that, you've got to. This might mean that the cost, the build cost of electricity might go below zero, and
they'll be paying you to take it.
What's that?
They'll be paying you to take it.
That's right, and less than 1 cent per kilowatt hour by 2025. They're talking about less than 0.4 of a cent by a few years after that. That is less than $4 per megawatt hour, which usually sells for about $65. And this is going to be absolutely crushing to anything that is not renewable energy. It's going to be, we looked at the chart a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, from NextEra, where they were saying that new small modular nuclear reactors, the price of the electricity from them would be 10.5 to 13.5 cents per kilowatt hour. They're going to have to use. What's that?
That's no bargain.
Not when you can buy it for less than 1 cent. I mean, we're going to be into crazy times here, and I think that natural gas, coal, and nuclear coal's over the cliff already, and it looks like natural gas is going in the same direction. And where they've got these big plants coming online in Georgia now, and they're over budget by well over a factor of 2. They were first budgeted.
How many weeks late? How many years late?
I don't remember, but they were supposed to be $14 billion. Now they're over 30. And how much is the electricity from those going to have to cost in order to make it viable to keep the plants going, even though they are new? And the same thing is true of natural gas.
Electricity is going to have to cost more than the market will bear.
Yeah. And again, I want to remind people that NextEra Energy, and NextEra owns 7 nuclear power plants and a whole bunch of natural gas and coal plants. And that when they say that solar and wind is cheap, they're talking about what is called near firm solar and wind, which means that it is dispatchable electricity 24/7 with a quality in terms of reliability that would be comparable to that of nuclear energy. So this is not a joke.
The Reduction Act has a lot of money in it.
I think it does, yeah. I think, if I had that much money, I'd probably have a car. Okay, should we go on, Tom?
Yeah, we got an interesting picture of the Sargasso Sea.
Yes, this is a sargassum farm from Seafield.
Which is a kind of seaweed.
It's a bunch of seaweed, but this particular article is really kind of astonishing, and it's good news. It's from the BBC. What do you have for a title?
Can an enormous seaweed farm help to curb climate change?
Imagine a seaweed farm the size of Croatia. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please imagine something the size of Croatia. You got this now?
Well, Croatia is about as big as Vermont and New Hampshire taken together.
Thank you very much, Tom. I think that telling people to imagine something the size of Croatia is not really all that good. Imagine...
It came from the British... from Britain.
Imagine a seaweed farm...
Now, a little more about the size of Croatia than we do.
Yeah. Imagine a seaweed farm the size of New Hampshire and Vermont put together, floating out in the South Atlantic Ocean. Spinning in a natural ocean eddy, it sucks up billions of tons of carbon out of the atmosphere every year and sinks it to the bottom of the ocean floor out of harm's way. This is carbon sequestration. A UK businessman plans to have this up and running by 2026. And by the way, if he's going to sink 1 billion tons a year, he's going to be sinking about 20% of what the United States emits. So this is...
Well, it's going to be a lot bigger than that picture.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be about 150 miles across. So, yeah.
Well, Vermont and Alaska together.
That's right. But even, you know, I think the point that he's making is we've got a way to draw this carbon down. We've got a way to draw it down fast. This could have a real effect on climate change. So, you know, here it is. This could make
Cattle will eat that seaweed.
What's that?
Cattle will eat that seaweed.
Cattle will? Well, he wants to put it out of the way, though. He wants to get it out of the, because if the cattle eat it, the cattle are going to breathe it back out. They're going to emit it in other ways, flatulence, which is mostly burping with cows. But it would get back into the atmosphere. What he wants to do is he wants to actually sequester it, which he can do just by sinking it, which is what it normally does anyway. So, and this eddy in the South Atlantic Ocean is just one of a bunch of eddies around the world where this could be done.
We've talked about them. There's several of these.
Yes, indeed. There are several of these, and they are they're choked with plastic now. But you know, there are other things that we can do.
People are dealing with that.
They're trying to. And one of the things that struck me about this is if you started doing this sargassum experiment, it might be that the sargassum would naturally attach to the plastic and draw it down to the bottom of the ocean floor. And if that happened, that might sequester the plastic in addition. I don't know. But they didn't talk about that in the article. Okay, move on.
Yeah, might as well. We got a picture of the Fire Island wind farm, and that's not Fire Island, New York. That's Fire Island, Alaska.
That's right, and it's. I think that I love those mountains. They're beautiful. This is from the Anchorage Daily News.
Well, CIRI, which is the Cook Inlet Region Incorporated in southern Alaska,
thank you,
looked to triple power at the Fire Island wind farm.
Yes, an Alaska Native corporation is looking to expanding its Fire Island wind project, adding perhaps a dozen turbines and tripling the power output from the island in Cook Inlet, 5 miles west of Anchorage, with 11.
On the show before.
Yeah, with 11 big turbines, it's also already the second largest wind farm in Alaska, and of course, it would wind up being 3 times that by expanding it. So, and it looks like it's not in anybody's way.
I would guess. Well, the Cook Inlet's interesting, though. We've talked about it. There's some sections there that are very much in danger due to subsidence.
Yes, I had forgotten about that.
We talked about it on the show.
Yeah, I believe you're right, Tom. I take your word for it. I just didn't remember it. So
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot on this show. You know that.
That's a good show. Myself.
It is certainly fun. And
We're up to Monday, October 17th, for an interesting picture of an Chevrolet Equinox EV.
yes, that's correct. And that is a 2024 model, which is not in production yet. This is from Clean Technica.
Recent battery deals could indicate manufacturers are up to the task Congress gave them.
This we said that we were going to get back to batteries, and we're back to batteries.
Yes.
China has 100% control over battery-grade synthetic graphite, 73% control over cobalt, 68% control over nickel, 59% control over lithium, U.S. car makers, however, are showing that they are up to the task of finding new sources of the materials. And
You're not having any trouble.
no, and this is a matter of China getting a 4-year head start on this because the United States went through about 4 years of really being in the doldrums when it came to developing cars and batteries. And so China got its head start. China has its head start. China has located the sources for all of this stuff. 4 years from now, the United States may be way ahead of China. It depends upon how we act. So,
Yeah, basically, you're right.
yeah. You got any more on that?
No, it's an interesting article. As you said, it comes from Clean Technica.
Yep. Okay, our next...
You got a long article, so if you got the time, read it.
Yeah. Our next article comes from Elite Agent.
That's an interesting picture of a wind farm in Queensland.
Yes,
And that's Queensland in Australia.
that's right. That is correct.
Renewable energy plants could boost property prices. This is what we said we were going to talk about.
That's right. According to PRD's Renewable Energy in the Property Market, local government areas that built either wind or solar energy plant in 2017 have seen average property prices increase 41% over the last 5 years. The value of a home can also be increased by installing solar panels. And again, this is actually just another article on the same finding, the same sort of finding.
It was against what they're trying to tell us, though, but this is reality.
This is reality. This is what's actually happening. And the fact that, you've got somebody who will talk on NPR or something like that, talking about the horrible. And by the way, when you hear those people talk about the dangerous things that renewable energy does to property values, please notice there is a tone in the voice that is called vitriolic. You know what oil of vitriol is, Tom? It's the old alchemist name for a chemical. Do you recognize it?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Oil of vitriol is sulfuric acid.
Uh-huh.
And so vitriol is nasty. And these people who talk about property values going down get really upset, sound nasty, and they back this sometimes with what they call studies. And if you really look at the studies, one of the studies or two of the studies that I saw, it was a Chicago real estate appraiser, and he appraised property as having a 25 to 33% reduced value for 80 properties. And then he turned that into two studies, each of which had a part of those 80 properties, and that was his study. So he had a study that was based on his own opinions. Professional opinions, to be sure. Professional opinions that were different, however, from a lot of other professionals who would be taken to look at the same things. And at the same time he did that, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and the University of Connecticut were hired by the state of Massachusetts to look at 130,000 property values and compare them over a period of time where they were looking at the prices of property, and there was just probably multiple man-years of work that went into that study as opposed to the appraiser's work, which may have been looking at appraisals that he was hired to do separately. And the difference...
The article says that the value of a home can be increased by installing solar panels.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be happening because you can't afford not to do it.
That's right. Okay, we should probably go on, shouldn't we, Tom?
I think we should. We got a picture of a Coast Guard cutter.
We do. When was the last time we had a picture of a Coast Guard cutter up? This is from CNN.
I never had one.
I don't think we ever did have one. Anyway, there it is.
It comes from CNN.
Yep.
And the article says, and I quote, "Climate change exposes lack of U.S. preparedness in defending the Arctic Ocean interests."
Yeah, according to a senator, and the senator in this case is not mentioned in the synopsis. Oh, it is. He is. Angus King. Climate change is unlocking a new...
By the way.
What?
Angus King is an independent. He's neither a Republican nor a Democrat.
Well, good for him. Climate change is unlocking a new crossroads and potential center of conflict in the Arctic. But one key lawmaker, Maine Senator Angus King, warns the United States has lagged behind in securing the region as other powers move in. Who are the other powers? Well, Russia, which has a huge Arctic coast, and China. Naturally, Canada has a big interest in this too, but Canada is not able to do the kinds of things that Russia and China do. So there you have that. This is something where the Arctic Ocean is opening up. Ships are going to be going through. Control of that ocean is going to be important. So,
well, we discussed that on the show too.
Yeah. We're up to Tuesday, October 18th, and we have a picture of a supercell and an article from Clean Technica.
Say, whoop. Oh, okay. Say climate pollution instead of greenhouse gases. The difference is in impact is huge.
I should explain. Tom was having trouble here, I think, because I forgot to take the quote marks in the middle of this thing from double quotes down to single quotes, and that looks confusing as a result.
It is confusing, but I guess we unconfused it.
Yeah. Climate activists are altering the language they employ to describe our quickly warming world, and the term climate pollution has started to shift the way the public ascribes responsibility for the existential crisis that surrounds us.
Well, it is really an existential crisis, and we got to realize that.
Yeah.
And for one thing, we got to stop burning things.
Yeah. Otherwise, we stop existing. It's that simple. And that is what is meant by existential crisis.
Absolutely.
So should we go on from here?
That's
Okay. We have a picture
of a solar power plant. How strange, huh?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of such a thing? This is from Oil Price.
Renewable investments could outstrip upstream oil and gas in 2022. Outstrip
Yeah.
oil and gas in 2022.
High spot electricity prices, particularly in Europe, are changing the narrative for utility wind and solar investment. Potential payback periods of under 1 year. When was the last time you heard of an investment that could have a payback period of 1 year?
Well, I don't have any investments, so I don't know.
Yeah, but a payback period, that would be like saying I'm going to buy a house and the interest rate is so low that I'm going to be able to pay it back in 1 year.
That's incredible.
Well, a house for a payback of 1 year is incredible. This is a little less incredible when you look at the numbers, but usually these things are 8 or 10 years, which means you invest $1 billion, and usually you would expect it to be paid back to you for over 8 or 10 years. Now you invest $1 billion, maybe you'll have it back to you by next year, and then you can invest it in something else. This is a real buyer's market. Okay. Potential payback periods of 1 year could start a race to develop renewable assets purely based on project economics. And this is according to Rystad Energy and reported at Oil Price. So, more?
Well, the payback periods are so short you can't afford not to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's move along. We get a nice picture of some tomatoes.
We do. And I would bet that those...
Tomato, I say tomato.
You said tomato? I say tomato.
Then I must say tomato.
No, you don't have to say tomato. You're allowed to say tomato. Anybody is allowed to say tomato who wants to say tomato. This is from CNN.
Let's call the whole thing off.
That's what the thing says. Yes, that's right.
I say tomato.
Yeah.
Well, this is from CNN, and I quote, California's tomato farmers are getting squeezed by water crisis as growing costs continue to rise.
Yes. This year, fewer tomatoes are grown as rising interest rates, inflation, and the crushing drought squeezed farmers who saw their margins sliced and diced. While the cost of growing tomatoes continues to rise, that cost ultimately hits the consumers. So,
bingo.
That's what's going to have to happen, and that's
this is part of what we've talked about before with the Colorado River.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
And the Imperial Valley, and they're siphoning off water that they can't afford to siphon off anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about.
There have been times when the Colorado River did not reach the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, I think that's most of the time these days. And the Mexicans are not happy about having had this beautiful river that suddenly went dry because people north of them were taking all the water out of it.
That's exactly right. They're sucking the water right away.
Yeah. Should we go on, Tom?
Happy about that.
No. Should we go on?
I think so. This is the last day of the week. It's Wednesday, October 19th.
Yep.
Which was yesterday.
Yep.
And it's a picture of battery production, an image from CATL, whatever that is.
If you were to ask me what that picture was of without saying that it was battery production, I don't
think...
Looks like
a newspaper.
No, I agree. It doesn't look anything like battery production, and I would never have suggested that. But that, I don't know, that was part of a GIF file that played like a video, and it was just strange. Okay, this is from Clean Technica, and you have a title.
$1.2 billion Gemini solar plus storage project to use 100% of CATL batteries, and CATL stands for a company called Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited, and it's a Chinese manufacturer of lithium-ion batteries.
Right. It's one of the biggest battery manufacturers in the world.
Yeah.
The
Chinese do things half baked these days.
The giant 690 megawatt Gemini solar power project planned for Las Vegas will include 1,416 megawatt hours of energy storage capacity. This will be one of the largest battery plus solar plus storage projects in the United States, or the world for that matter. The $1.2 billion project developer is Primergy Solar LLC.
Well, see, if I haven't said it already, CATL is Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited.
You did say that.
Manufacturer of lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah, you did say that, Tom. So this is a huge project. Huge project going into Las Vegas, and that we talked last week about Babcock Ranch. Babcock Ranch had the biggest solar plus battery power supply in the United States when it was built, which was about 5 years ago. And the battery in that case was 10 megawatt hours. This is 1,416 megawatt hours.
That's over a gigawatt hour.
Yeah, but it's also 140 times as big. And that's the growth in the size of these things that has happened in 5 years. And that tells you something. That's where
the market is going.
That's where the market's going, exactly. That's what it's all about. And, there it is. Okay, should we go on?
They got an interesting picture of a canoe.
It's not the kind of canoe that you would think it is, though, just based on the idea that it's a canoe. For one thing, it's CANOO. That is a truck that has a lot of glass in its cab.
Well, you notice there's no grill.
Yeah, there's no grill. I think it's an electric vehicle. This is from Clean Technica.
Canoe gets orders for 3,000 EVs from Ziba, whoever they are. 9,300 from King Bee, whoever they are.
Earlier this year, Canoe hinted that it might not have enough funds to begin production. Then, Walmart stepped in with an order for 4,500 delivery vans. Now, Ziba which is a national fleet leasing company, now you know who they are, has ordered 5,450 more, and King Bee, a national van rental provider, and now you know who they are, has ordered another 9,300. So people were scratching their heads wondering whether they were going to get any money earlier this year, and now they have orders for...
I think they found out the answer to that.
Yeah, I think they did. They've got orders for 20,000 vehicles. And a lot of this...
What is Canoe designs and builds electric vehicles, and right now they're operating in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Michigan, and California.
Yeah.
So they're a company you're going to be hearing more of.
Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, places that you think of ordinary people saying, it's renewable energy. I don't want anything to do with that. What can I say? Okay, our last item is from CNN.
We got a picture of an offshore wind farm.
We have a picture of an offshore wind farm, which is nowhere near North America, by the way, although this article is about North America. And
well, the article's talking about the West Coast, and in the West Coast there's no continental shelf.
yeah.
So these turbines appear to be bottom anchored, and that ain't going to happen on the West
No,
Coast.
not likely.
Oh,
Not likely.
they're going to be floating.
Yeah. But, they're representative of wind turbines that are in the middle of the sea. And you'll notice that there are these little toy sailboats.
They're little toy boats, aren't they?
They sure look like little toy boats, don't they? Somehow I have a feeling they're big enough for people to stand on, sleep in, whatever. What do you have for a title?
Biden moves one step closer to making giant Pacific Ocean wind turbines a reality.
Yep. The Department of Interior announced that it will hold a lease sale for wind energy off the coast of Central and Northern California, bringing the Biden administration's dream of a massive West Coast wind farm one step closer to reality. And there you have it.
Well, as I've already said, these West Coast turbines have to be able to float.
That's right. Yeah.
They're not. They can't anchor to the floor because the floor is. They don't have a continental shelf out of the West Coast.
Too far away. It's too far down to build something to anchor. But people have been building floating wind turbines.
I mean, we've talked about it on the show.
Yeah. And so we have our last slide, which says, have an enchantingly cozy week. And I've got it up so people can see that I'm telling
I bet I know what you're doing.
What's that? Waving?
I bet I know what you're doing.
People can see me wave. Left-handed. I'll wave right-handed. Tom is waving also.
I'm waving too.
Yeah.
And the last word on this is fini.
Fini. That is correct. So there you have it. And this week, I think that's the business of the electric renewable energy being too cheap to meter is kind of amazing.
That is very amazing.
And
they are changing.
They are changing. There's no question about it.
For the better.
What was the other article that we had that was so... There was one article... Oh, it was the one about seaweed. A single seaweed farm in a gyre drawing down 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide a year, and they could probably put together at least 5 of those in the world, and that would have a truly profound effect on getting rid of some of the carbon pollution that we've had. We could actually draw down the carbon pollution for that. So there you have it, and we'll.
This is more good than bad.
Yep. So we'll ask you to come back next time.
Say again?
We'll ask everybody to come back next time. Come on back.
Yes, you hear?
You hear? Bye-bye.